Hello, friends. World War II is the most devastating war in human history. Numerous large cities were left crumbling after this war. Today, nearly all geopolitical events and international relations can be traced back to this war. Friends, I've told you many stories from World War II in previous videos. But in this video, let's understand World War II in depth from start to end. What happened exactly? Why? And what was its impact? This is the story of World War II. It is difficult to track down one single event that sparked the conflict. Ultimately, it was a series of events that conspired together to light the flame of war. The world's most hated treaty, the Treaty of Versailles, thus starting World War II in 1939. The whole world is against Hitler and Hitlerism. Let's begin this story in 1919, the year when World War I ended and the famous peace treaty known as the Treaty of Versailles was signed. This treaty contained an important clause, Article 231, which held that all the losses caused by World War I were Germany's responsibility. This clause is also known as the War Guilt Clause, because it essentially implied that regardless of the other countries involved, Germany was entirely to blame. France and Britain wanted Germany to pay heavy costs for losing this war. They wanted to recover their losses from Germany. As a result, according to the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was ordered to pay a fine of $33 billion to the other countries. In today's money, this is around $270 billion. It was such a huge amount that Germany only made the final payment in 2010, almost 100 years later. Where did this money come from? From Germany's citizens. The first payment was made in 1921, but soon after, hyperinflation hit Germany. Its currency, the German mark, collapsed rapidly. In 1922, in Berlin, a packet of bread cost 160 marks. By 1923, the same packet cost 200 billion marks. The economy was crippled, and unemployment rose sharply. In such circumstances, a young political leader entered our story, Adolf Hitler. He knew how to manipulate the masses with his speeches. In 1923, Hitler's Nazi Party tried to overthrow the German government by staging a coup. Although this attempt failed, it greatly increased his popularity. Rumors spread that Germany's humiliation was caused by anti-national elements within the country. People were distressed, and it was easy to manipulate them. Hitler claimed that Jews and socialists were to blame for Germany's disgrace. Over the next 10 years, propaganda spread everywhere. Media organizations were influenced, hate speeches were delivered constantly. I won't go into the details, since I explained this in my video on the rise of Hitler. Then came the Great Depression in 1929. This worsened Germany's unemployment crisis. By 1933, 6 million people were jobless. Many were homeless, and children starved to death. As a result, in 1933, Hitler declared himself dictator of Germany. After taking full control, he began pursuing his dream of building the German Reich, a racially pure empire of Aryans, with no space for Jews or Slavs. To fuel hatred, the Nazis promoted the Judeo-Bolshevism conspiracy theory, claiming that the 1917 Russian Revolution was caused by Jews and led to the creation of the Soviet Union. In 1935, the world learned that Germany had an air force, a direct violation of the Treaty of Versailles, which had banned any German military buildup. By then, however, many in Britain believed the treaty was too harsh on Germany. In June 1935, Britain signed the Anglo-German Naval Agreement, formally allowing Germany to have a navy. But France was alarmed. They built a 450 km long fortification on their eastern border, the Maginot Line. By 1938, when Hitler believed his military was ready, he set his eyes on Austria. He wanted all German-speaking nations united. He also wanted more resources and living space, Lebensraum, for his superior Aryan race. In February 1938, Hitler pressured Austrian Chancellor Kurt Schuschnigg into allowing pro-Nazis into government. Soon after, Austria fell under Nazi control without bloodshed, as many Austrians welcomed Hitler, victims of his propaganda. Next, Hitler moved to Czechoslovakia. He demanded Sudetenland, home to 3 million ethnic Germans. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, desperate to avoid war, signed the Munich Agreement in September 1938, giving Sudetenland to Hitler in exchange for his promise of no more wars. But in March 1939, Hitler broke the agreement and invaded the rest of Czechoslovakia. The country was split, part annexed into Germany, the rest made into a Nazi puppet state. Then Hitler looked to Poland. In August 1939, he shocked the world by signing a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union. Though Hitler despised communism, both sides wanted Poland. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland with nearly 1 million troops, attacking from north and south using the Blitzkrieg strategy, lightning war, combining tanks and air force for rapid victory. Britain and France issued an ultimatum. When Hitler ignored it, they declared war. France, Britain, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Canada joined the fight. Poland, however, was left to fend for itself. Its outdated army, still using horses, was no match. By September 8, Poland fell. Germany used Blitzkrieg so effectively that soldiers were even given Pervitin, a methamphetamine drug, to fight without rest. This allowed them to overpower enemies rapidly. Meanwhile, the Soviets invaded Poland from the east, splitting the country with Germany. Then they turned to Finland. The Winter War lasted over 2 months before Finland surrendered 11% of its land in March 1940. In April 1940, Hitler invaded Denmark and Norway. Both fell quickly. The Norwegian government fled to London and formed a government in exile. British Prime Minister Chamberlain resigned after repeated failures. On May 10, 1940, Winston Churchill took charge. That same day, Hitler attacked France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. France relied on its Maginot Line, but Hitler bypassed it, sending troops through the Ardennes forest. In May 1940, German forces captured Sedan and trapped British and French soldiers near Dunkirk. Nearly 400,000 Allied troops were stranded. For May 26th, Operation Dynamo evacuated them by sea, with help from naval ships, civilians, and even fishing boats. By June 4th, 350,000 troops were saved, though much equipment was lost. Soon after, France surrendered on June 22, 1940. Italy, under Mussolini, joined Hitler through the Pact of Steel and declared war on France and Britain. By July 1940, Hitler controlled Austria, Poland, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and France. At this stage, Germany stood against Britain while maintaining its pact with the Soviet Union. America, meanwhile, stayed out, reluctant to get involved in another European war. At this point, Hitler seemed unstoppable. But how did the situation turn around? How did Britain manage to resist and eventually defeat Germany? We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. Winston Churchill. Friends, we'll continue this story in the next video, Part 2 of World War II. Don't worry, I won't keep you waiting long. Both parts were filmed and edited together. Until then, you can watch this video where I explained how Hitler used propaganda to brainwash German citizens. It also connects to Albert Einstein's story. Click here to watch, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.